Ken Adams, thanks for your time. It's great to see you.
Thanks, Liz. Good to be here.
I'm jealous. It's beautiful.
Up here?
Yeah.
In Bolton Landing, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So this is your annual meeting. You have it around this time every year, and it generally during the campaigns becomes very political. So I'm looking at the agenda, and I see all these statewide candidates, but I don't see Andrew Cuomo. What happened?
Well, we're not sure. We hope that he makes it. The invitation is out there. His folks are working on a complicated schedule for him this week. You know, he rolled out his Upstate Economic Development Plan in a series of events across Upstate this week, and so far we don't have him in our agenda here, but there still is a chance that we could work that out. Now,
is that going to actually affect your organization when it makes endorsements, or this event does not actually connect to your endorsements?
Yeah, this event doesn't connect in that way. Remember, and we've talked about on the show, Liz, the endorsements the Business Council is going to do, they really are based on candidates and their positions on very specific issues, the substance of their positions on those issues. And so there are a variety of ways to get that from candidates, not just a forum like this.
So now, that jobs plan that you talked about, have you had an opportunity to look at it at all from Andrew Cuomo?
Yes, we looked at it yesterday when it was released. It's available on his website. I have to caution you, you probably looked at it too, but it's 191 pages. And so, honestly, no, I haven't looked at every part of it. But there's a lot of depth and substance to it, and frankly, a lot of positions from the Business Council, that we've been advancing over the years to try and reform the state's economy, so we're encouraged by it.
Are you surprised, though? I mean, I guess he has been intoning this sort of fiscally conservative message when it comes to issues regarding the budget. There's a property tax cap is reiterated in there. He talks about having advisory councils around the state, incentivizing business with tax credits. I mean, but were you surprised? I mean, he is a Democrat.
Well, I wasn't that surprised, because if you go back to late May when he released the new New York agenda,
right,
another lengthy policy document, he built those fiscal reforms into that as the foundation of that broader policy for his campaign. And so, frankly, when I looked at this document yesterday that had a lot more specifics in it, it was based on these policy positions around economic reform that he had already announced earlier on. So I think the two documents go together hand in hand, and there's some consistency there.
But when you and I talked on the show a little while ago, we talked about the report cards that the Business Council has done, and the legislature didn't do so terribly well, particularly when it comes to the Democratic-dominated leadership. I mean, how do those two things fit together? If we assume Andrew Cuomo gets elected governor, and we'll get to the horse race in a second, but if he is elected governor, do you think he'll have difficulty getting this conservative agenda through the legislature?
I think it could be a challenge. I mean, we've seen some of these ideas actually advanced by our current governor, David Paterson, only to hit a wall particularly in the democratically controlled Assembly majority, and often in the Democratic Senate majority as well. So the action is going to be in the new year, to a large degree, in the legislature when it comes to advancing these proposals. So I think, you put your finger on it. Voters are going to have to think hard when they go to the polls in November about their individual state assembly person and state senator, and look for, at least in our view, we think that they should look for candidates that are going to support these fiscal reform agendas that can come from, or will come from, either a Governor Cuomo or a Governor Palladino.
Well, of course, Andrew Cuomo is not David Paterson. I mean, and not all things aside, and I'm not about their demeanor, but David Paterson is a lame duck, and Andrew Cuomo, if he came in, or whoever comes in as governor, will have some kind of mandate. I mean, isn't the first year generally what you have seen? The first year is when you strike while the iron is hot. Governor Pataki did quite well fiscally in his first year.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And in this case, three things. One is, there already is across the state broad-based support, if you see how these issues poll, for these important reforms like property tax, spending caps, lowering taxes. There's a lot of public support for these issues. They're just not new ideas, and that's very important. Again, the second thing, of course, is a new governor will have that mandate, the backing of the voters coming into office in January, and that gives that individual much more political clout. I think you're right, to advance these ideas. And the third, let's not forget, Liz, the economy is still really a mess, especially here in New York State. We still got the highest taxes in the country. We have really anemic economic recovery, if you can call it that. personal income growth of the last 10 years, something like 36th in the nation, and all of the problems with the state budget deficit. So the other issue here is the backdrop of the state's economy. That's an imperative to advance these reforms for the new governor, and it needs to be that same imperative for the legislature as well.
Now, you're going to be hearing, actually, from Carl Paladino. He is now the GOP and conservative candidate for governor. He has gone from sort of this outsider to really not, I don't want to say an insider, but to be an establishment legitimate guy. What do you think your members are going to be looking for from him, and what do you think their initial response is to this bomb-throwing businessman from Buffalo?
Well, I don't know if the initial responses matter so much after his impressive primary victory. I mean, obviously, people are taking Carl Paladino very seriously as a candidate. And I think what's interesting, you know, Liz, he'll be here in about an hour. He's scheduled to address our dinner here at the Business Council annual meeting. And I think the audience of several, actually more than 300 people from across the state, will be curious to hear about his approaches to these very tough problems the state is facing, and frankly, some more specifics on certain policies that we all know are critical to economic recovery in the state. So I think the audience back, I was just with a lot of people there. Folks are excited and they want to hear what he's got to say.
Are they curious about him generally? Because really what the focus has been up to this point is about some of his more controversial social statements, you know, the email scandal, or, you know, his quotes about putting people put welfare recipients into a dignity corps where they can learn hygiene or whatever. But there hasn't been a lot of focus on really what his proposals are.
Right, and it's that focus that matters, and frankly, again, this is an event with business leaders, local chambers of commerce, or community leaders, and really folks from all across the state that are the core of the Business Council membership get together for this event every year. And they're going to want some substance, I think, Liz. They're going to want to hear specific proposals to reform Albany and to go beyond kind of the rhetoric, the bumper sticker talk, and say, here's what we're going to do if we're going to shrink the size of government, make New York State competitive, and make it once again a state that's attractive to investment and to job growth and to economic recovery.
Do you really believe, you said your membership is taking him seriously, do you really believe that there are people there who are open-minded enough to take him seriously at a time when we're in a Democrat-dominated state? He has said some pretty controversial things. I mean, could you guys see your way clear towards endorsing him?
You know, I can't get into the heads of all of the folks, you know, in the room behind me. And there's probably a range of an opinion on, you know, those questions. And I'd still say we don't know enough. You know, in terms of the endorsement question, Liz, we're going to start talking about endorsements after this event and after we've got enough information from candidates. And so not ready to talk about that now or project what's going to happen. But let's just say there's an opportunity tonight for our Business Council members to hear from Carl Paladino. They're looking forward to that. And we'll take it from there, and I suspect you and I will have a chance to talk about it further in the coming days.
I hope so. What is your timeline exactly? I mean, we don't have that much time left in the election season.
Well, we'll look next week, actually, to start with some of our first endorsements.
Wow. And will you, with some of your statewide endorsements next week?
That's a different decision, and so we would like to. And again, more on this next week. Right now, we've got so much going on with the annual meeting. The committees and folks that are involved in those decisions are going to reconvene, and we'll work on that in the next few days. Well,
like I said earlier, you have everybody coming. You have both comptroller candidates, you have the AG candidates, so we will be catching up with you, and we'll also be catching up with our reporter who is there. And I'm sorry that I can't be joining you, but I really want to thank you very much for joining us, Ken Adams.
Oh, you're welcome, Liz. Thank you very much.